Bill Goldberg. William Scott Goldberg, born December 27, 1966, is an American actor, professional wrestler, former football player, and former mixed martial artist color commentator. He is currently signed to WWE. He is best known for his time in World Championship Wrestling, WCW, under the ring name Goldberg. He has acted in various films and television shows, including Universal Soldier, The Return, 1999, and Family Guy. One of the most popular figures of the late 1990s/early 2000s professional wrestling boom, Goldberg rose to fame in WCW with a lengthy undefeated streak in singles competition from 1997 to 1998. During his time with the promotion, Goldberg became a one-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, two-time WCW United States Heavyweight Champion, and one-time WCW World Tag Team Champion with Bret Hart. Along with Hart, he is the fifth WCW Triple Crown winner. Following WCW's closure in 2001, Goldberg wrestled for All Japan Pro Wrestling, AJPW, between 2002 and 2003, and for WWE between 2003 and 2004, becoming a one-time World Heavyweight Champion in the latter. After 12 years away from the company, he returned to WWE in 2016 and won the WWE Universal Championship in February 2017. Goldberg has headlined multiple pay-per-view events for WCW and WWE, including twice closing WCW's premier annual event, Starrcade. He is the only person to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, WWE's World Heavyweight Championship, and the WWE Universal Championship. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018 the weekend of WrestleMania 34. Before he was a professional wrestler, Goldberg was a professional football player. After first retiring from professional wrestling in 2004, he began working as a commentator for the mixed martial arts promotion Elite XC until its closure. He hosted 26 episodes of Garage Mahal on the DIY network from 2009 to 2011. Early life. Goldberg was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he had a bar mitzvah at Temple Israel and graduated from Tulsa Edison High School. He acquired a love for football early in life and was a bouncer at age 16. Goldberg's mother, Ethel, is a classical violinist, while his father, Jed, who attended Harvard University, was an obstetrician and gynecologist. They divorced, and Jed died in late 2006. Ethel also breeds flowers and created an award-winning hybrid orchid, which she named after Goldberg. His brother, Michael, is the owner of a music club in Aspen, Colorado. Goldberg is proud of his Jewish heritage and refused to hide it in the wrestling world, including refusing to wrestle on Yom Kippur. His Romanian great-grandfather, Marcel, emigrated from Bucharest and came to the U.S. through Ellis Island. His other great-grandfather, Willie, was a Russian immigrant. Football career. Goldberg earned a scholarship to play for the University of Georgia Bulldogs football team where he served as a defensive tackle. He was taken by the Los Angeles Rams in the 11th round, with the 302nd overall selection, in the 1990 NFL Draft. He played for the Los Angeles Rams in the 1990 NFL season, followed by a stint with the CFL Sacramento Gold Miners and Atlanta Falcons from 1992 to 1994. After being cut from the Falcons, in 1995 he was selected by the new expansion team, the Carolina Panthers, in the 1995 NFL expansion draft, but never played a game with the team. He was the first player to have been cut by the Panthers. Goldberg's NFL career ended when he tore his lower abdomen off his pelvis. He had hopes of returning to the league after rehabilitation but, due to his lack of success, was not considered a major asset. Goldberg has described playing in the NFL as a mixed emotional experience because, despite reaching the goal of simply playing in the NFL, he did not obtain the level of achievement that he desired. Professional wrestling career. World Championship Wrestling. Training and early matches, 1996–1997. During the rehab following his NFL injury, Goldberg began powerlifting and mixed martial arts training. He was spotted by Lex Luger and Sting, who urged him to try professional wrestling. Although not a fan of professional wrestling, he saw it as an alternative to his fledgling football career and began training at the WCW power plant. Working as Bill Goldberg made 5 appearances. The first was on a dark match at a Monday Nitro event on June 23, 1997, where he defeated Buddy Lee Parker. He also faced and defeated Buddy Landel, Saturday Night Dark Match, Hugh Morris, House Show, Chip Minton, Nitro Dark Match, and John Betchia, House Show. His final pre-televised appearance was in a dark match on July 24 at a Saturday night taping in a loss to Chad Fortune. Undefeated streak, 1997–1998. On the September 22, 1997 episode of Nitro, Goldberg defeated Hugh Morris in his debut match. Soon afterward, he began to score quick victories over his fellow WCW wrestlers in the range of 1–2 minutes. Goldberg's succession of wins saw him quickly advance up the card, and he was pushed as a singles wrestler. The newcomer captivated fans with his monstrous yet silent charisma, brute strength, and agility that saw him vault the ropes, perform high kicks and even the occasional backflip. Goldberg made his pay-per-view debut at Starrcade, defeating Steve McMichael. In early 1998, Goldberg squashed Brad Armstrong at Super Brawl 8 and pinned Perry Saturn at Spring Stampede. By mid-March, WCW stopped referring to him by his full name, shortening it to simply Goldberg. Around this time, WCW began counting Goldberg's consecutive wins on television as he continued to climb up the ranks. Goldberg's win over Saturn was his 74th consecutive without a loss, and the next night on Nitro he challenged Raven for the United States Heavyweight Championship that Raven had won the night before at Spring Stampede. Despite interference from Raven's flock, Goldberg overpowered them all and defeated Raven to win his first professional wrestling championship. 2 days later, on the April 22 episode of Thunder, he made his first successful title defense against Mike Enos. Goldberg then started a feud with Raven and the flock. At Slamboree, he ended his feud with the flock after a successful title defense against Saturn. Goldberg continued to make successful title defenses against Conan at the Great American Bash and Curt Hennig. By this time, he had adopted the catchphrase "Who's next?" in reference to his rapidly expanding winning streak. As Goldberg was getting over as a main eventer, he continued to defend the United States Heavyweight Championship and was slowly becoming a contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship that was held by New World Order, NWO, leader Hollywood Hogan. Hogan eventually promised Goldberg a title match. The match was scheduled for the July 6, 1998 episode of Nitro held at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta with over 40,000 in attendance, but Hogan insisted that Goldberg first had to defeat his NWO stablemate Scott Hall. Goldberg won and later in the evening was also able to defeat Hogan to become the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, in turn vacating his United States Heavyweight Championship. At Road Wild, Goldberg won a battle royal, consisting of NWO members. After Diamond Dallas Page became the #1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, Goldberg and Page began a feud with each other. At Halloween Havoc, the feud was settled after Goldberg defeated Page to retain the title. According to Goldberg, his match against Page was the favorite match of his career. At Starrcade, Goldberg's undefeated streak ended at an official count of 173-0. And after 174 days as champion when he lost the title to Kevin Nash after Scott Hall, disguised as a ringside security guard, made a run-in and shocked Goldberg with a taser gun. Goldberg, however, got his revenge at Sold Out, when he defeated Hall in a ladder taser match. Goldberg won when he used the taser, which was hung high above the ring, requiring the ladder to obtain it. Goldberg's win-loss record at WCW events from 1997 to 1998 differed from that which was perpetuated by the company, with the official figure exaggerating the number of matches in which he won to 173. Nick Schwartz of Fox Sports wrote, "No one really knows what Goldberg's actual record was, but it's generally accepted that 173.0 is an inflated number. Some of Goldberg's industry peers have stated that the figure was exaggerated. His then WCW colleague Chris Jericho stated, 1 week he'd be 42.0 and 7 days later he'd be 58.0. Did stepping on bugs count?" Manager Jimmy Hart, who also worked with Goldberg in WCW, regarded the level of embellishment as kind of funny, while professional wrestler The Miz said, "The number would just go on and on and on, to where it was like, wait a second. How did he get this many wins in such a short time?" This exaggeration damaged the streak's credibility among the WCW audience. Upon noticing that the figure had been falsified, fans began to withdraw homemade signs trumpeting Goldberg's record. Championship pursuits and final feuds, 1999-2001. At Spring Stampede, Goldberg gained his revenge against Nash by defeating him. Then at Slamboree the following month, Goldberg was injured in an attack by Rick and Scott Steiner and took some time off to prepare for his movie debut in the 1999 film Universal Soldier, The Return alongside Time Cop film star Jean-Claude Van Damme. He returned 2 months later and defeated Rick Steiner at Road Wild. Goldberg then restarted his feud with DDP, also involving Page's allies, the Jersey Triad, which culminated in a match at Fall Brawl that Goldberg won. After Goldberg settled his rivalry with Page, he began focusing on Sid Vicious and challenged him to a match to end Sid's winning streak. The two feuded with each other, which culminated in a match at Halloween Havoc for Sid's United States Heavyweight title. Goldberg defeated Sid via referee stoppage, and thus won his second United States Heavyweight Championship. Later that night, he answered an open challenge from WCW World Heavyweight Champion Sting and defeated him to win the championship. On the next night's episode of Nitro, Commissioner J.J. Dillon ruled that the match had not been sanctioned by WCW and that, therefore, Goldberg's victory was void. Sting, however, was not given the title back due to his attack on a referee during the event, and Dillon announced a 32-man tournament for the now vacant title which included Goldberg. Goldberg wrestled Bret Hart on the same Nitro in the first round of the tournament in a match that also served as the first defense of his newly won United States Heavyweight Championship. Sid Vicious managed to interfere in the contest and cost Goldberg the match, thus giving him his second career loss, costing him the title, and eliminating him from the tournament, which was eventually won by Hart at Mayhem in November. Goldberg continued his rivalry with Vicious and defeated him in an I Quit match at Mayhem to close their feud. Shortly thereafter, Goldberg joined forces with Hart, teaming with him to defeat Creative Control for the WCW World Tag Team Championship. 1 week later, they lost the title to the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. At Starrcade, Goldberg challenged Hart for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. In the course of the match, Goldberg delivered a stiff kick to Hart's head, legitimately giving him a concussion and tearing a muscle in his neck. Hart continued on, suffering what he believed to be at least one other concussion when he hit his head on the floor while executing a ring post-assisted figure 4 leg lock. The match ended when Roddy Piper, the special guest referee for the contest, declared Hart the winner despite Goldberg never having submitted to the sharpshooter. Hart vacated the title the next night on Nitro, saying he did not want to win that way, and gave Goldberg a rematch. Goldberg was defeated again due to outside interference from Hall and Nash, who came to the ring brandishing baseball bats which they used to attack Goldberg. In a swerve, Hart took one of the bats from the Outsiders and began beating on Goldberg himself, doing enough damage to score the pin and regain his championship. After the match, Hall, Nash, Hart, and Jeff Jarrett reformed the NWO and gave Goldberg a new target for a feud that, however, would not last long. Shortly after his title match loss, Goldberg injured himself on the December 23, 1999 episode of Thunder, during a sequence where he chased the NWO limousine into the parking lot. A spot in the sequence called for Goldberg to pound on the windshield of the limousine with his hands. To ensure his safety, Goldberg had assistance from a piece of metal pipe and his hands were covered in black tape. After this, Goldberg was to break some of the vehicle's windows. There were 4 windows on the side of the limousine and Goldberg broke the first 2 with his hands. He then got aggressive, putting his forearm through the 3rd window and immediately gashing it. Goldberg finished the sequence by pounding on the hood of the limo with his bloody arm, but immediately after it ended he was taken from the arena and rushed to a nearby hospital where the wound was patched. Goldberg lost a large amount of blood due to the accident. The injury caused Goldberg to miss the January 4, 2000 New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, Tokyo Dome show, where he was scheduled to face Manabu Nakanishi. After taking time off to recuperate, Goldberg returned to WCW on the May 29, 2000 episode of Nitro, interfering in a handicap match between Kevin Nash and the team of Tank Abbott and Rick Steiner. At the Great American Bash, Goldberg betrayed Nash during Nash's World Championship match against Jeff Jarrett and turned into a villain for the first time in his career, aligning himself with the New Blood faction. This did not last long, as Goldberg again was lost to injury and had to miss time. As a result of this betrayal, Goldberg feuded with Nash and defeated him at Bash at the Beach, with help from fellow New Blood member Scott Steiner. Goldberg participated in a Triangle No. 1 Contenders match against Nash and Steiner at New Blood Rising, which Nash won. Goldberg walked out of the match midway through while Nash had him ready for the jackknife powerbomb and swore at Vince Russo as he left the ring, turning face again. He then began a rivalry with Steiner, culminating in a no disqualification match at Fall Brawl which Goldberg lost due to outside interference. After his loss to Steiner, Goldberg's rivalry with Russo accelerated, and in October, having finally had enough, Russo gave Goldberg an ultimatum. If Goldberg was to lose another match at any point in time, unless he managed to duplicate his undefeated streak from 1997 to 1998, he would be forced to retire from professional wrestling. Goldberg defeated Cronny K, Brian Adams and Brian Clark, at Halloween Havoc in a handicap elimination match. He then started a feud with Lex Luger. This culminated in a match at Mayhem, which Goldberg won. They continued their rivalry and battled in a rematch at Starrcade. Goldberg won the match, but afterwards he was attacked by Luger's partner Buff Bagwell. Goldberg feuded with both Luger and Bagwell, who called themselves Totally Buffed. His streak was broken at Sin when Goldberg, teaming with his power plant trainer Dwayne Bruce, lost to Totally Buffed in a tag team no disqualification match after a fan maced him, enabling Totally Buffed to pin him. The storyline was intended to enable Goldberg to have shoulder surgery, but WCW was sold to the WWF in March 2001, while Goldberg was still recuperating. The WWF did not buy out Goldberg's contract with Time Warner, the parent company of WCW, as they had done with several other WCW wrestlers, due to Goldberg still being paid out a significant amount of money by Time Warner that he was owed, so he was not involved in the WWF invasion angle. Goldberg instead remained under contract to Time Warner until May 2002, when he agreed on a contract buyout. He was WCW's highest paid athlete, alongside Bret Hart, earning $2.5 million per year, a sum which would have risen to $3.5 million in the final year of his contract, due to have expired in July 2003. All Japan Pro Wrestling, 2002-2003. Goldberg had suffered an arm injury during the Toyota Pro/Celebrity race at the Long Beach Grand Prix in April 2002. In August 2002, he returned to the ring in Japan. He initially joined All Japan Pro Wrestling, AJPW, defeating Satoshi Kojima and Tei Kia. He went on to defeat Rick Steiner in a match for the W1 promotion, and teamed with Keiji Muto to defeat Cronny K. His success in Japan led to the WWF, now renamed World Wrestling Entertainment, to begin contract negotiations with him. World Wrestling Entertainment/WWE, 2003-2004. After leaving Japan, Goldberg signed a one-year contract with World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, in March 2003, debuting on the March 31 episode of Raw, the night after WrestleMania 19, and starting a feud with The Rock by performing a spear on him. Their rivalry intensified when The Rock held a segment entitled The Rock Concert, where he taunted Goldberg along with Gillberg, but Goldberg defeated him in his debut match at Backlash on April 27, following 3 spears and a jackhammer. Goldberg went undefeated over the subsequent half-year, defeating 3-Minute Warning in his first match on Raw. Goldberg defeated Christian the following week on Raw in a steel cage match. Goldberg next began a feud with Chris Jericho, culminating in a match between the two at Bad Blood on June 15, which Goldberg won. Goldberg entered a rivalry with Triple H, challenging him for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam on August 24 in the second Elimination Chamber match in WWE. After eliminating Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and Jericho, he was pinned by Triple H after Ric Flair threw a sledgehammer inside the chamber and Triple H hit Goldberg with it, meaning Triple H retained the title. Goldberg continued his feud with Triple H and defeated him for the World Heavyweight Championship at Unforgiven on September 21, after agreeing to put his career on the line. The next night on Raw, Goldberg successfully retained the title against Chris Jericho. The following week on Raw, Triple H issued a $100,000 bounty to anybody who could take Goldberg out. Steven Richards, Mark Henry, Law Resistance, and Tommy Dreamer all attempted to collect the bounty, but they were unsuccessful. On the October 20 episode of Raw, Batista collected the bounty after he interfered in Goldberg's title defense against Shawn Michaels and attacked Goldberg, placing a folding chair around Goldberg's ankle and jumping off the middle rope onto the chair, shattering his ankle. Furious, Goldberg demanded a match against Batista, but Triple H got involved in the match by trying to cripple Goldberg, who executed a spear on Triple H and attacked Batista with a sledgehammer. At Survivor Series on November 16, Goldberg retained the title against Triple H despite interference from Evolution. On the November 17 episode of Raw, Goldberg faced Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista in a handicap match, but he was pinned following an RKO, Batista bomb, and pedigree. After the match, Kane unexpectedly came out to seemingly assist Goldberg after Evolution continued their assault on him following the match. After scaring off Evolution, he turned on Goldberg and executed a chokeslam on him. The following week on Raw, Kane attacked Goldberg again while he was defending the championship against Triple H in a rematch from Survivor Series and expressed his desire to face Goldberg for the title. Raw general manager Eric Bischoff scheduled Goldberg to defend the championship against both Kane and Triple H in a triple threat match at Armageddon. Goldberg teamed with Shawn Michaels and Rob Van Dam to face and defeat Kane, Batista, and Orton in a 6-man tag team match. On the December 8 episode of Raw, Goldberg faced Kane in a lumberjack match which ended in a disqualification when Evolution and Mark Henry entered the ring and assaulted Goldberg. At Armageddon on December 14, Goldberg lost the title when Triple H pinned him after interference from Evolution and a chokeslam from Kane, thus ending his reign at 84 days. Survivor Series also marked the first time Goldberg met the WWE champion Brock Lesnar by interrupting Lesnar after the latter remarked that he could beat anyone in the world. The feud escalated at the 2004 Royal Rumble on January 25, when Goldberg was in the midst of dominating the Royal Rumble match. He eliminated Charlie Haas, Billy Gunn, and Nunzio, as the 30th entrant until Lesnar interfered in the match and executed an F5 on Goldberg. Angrily distracted at Lesnar's attack, Goldberg was eliminated by Kurt Angle. Vowing revenge after defeating Mark Henry and Jonathan Coachman in a no disqualification handicap match the following Raw, Goldberg declared Lesnar his next victim. On February 2, Goldberg was given a front row ticket to No Way Out by Stone Cold Steve Austin. SmackDown. General Manager Paul Heyman appeared on Raw, and along with Mr. McMahon attempted to get Goldberg to leave Lesnar, but Goldberg executed a spear on Heyman and accidentally executed a spear on Austin when he was aiming for McMahon. Goldberg attended No Way Out as a fan, confronting Lesnar at the event and, after several insults by Lesnar, entered the ring and countered a F5 from Lesnar with a jackhammer, before being detained and escorted out of the arena by security guards. During the main event between Lesnar and Eddie Guerrero on February 15, Goldberg re-emerged from the crowd and cost Lesnar the title. Lesnar then demanded a match with Goldberg at WrestleMania XX on March 14, with Austin serving as special guest referee. Fans knew this would be the final WWE match for both Goldberg and Lesnar, and thus gave largely negative reactions throughout the performance. Goldberg won the match, causing Lesnar to show Austin a middle finger, but he instead received a Stone Cold Stunner in return, and as Goldberg celebrated his victory with Austin, he also received a Stone Cold Stunner. Independent Circuit, 2015-2016. Goldberg made his return to professional wrestling on June 7, 2015 at the Legends of Wrestling show at Citi Field in New York. While he was not scheduled to wrestle at the event, Goldberg came to the aid of Rob Van Dam after his match with Scott Steiner. He performed a spear on Steiner and a jackhammer on Doc Gallows. On January 23, 2016, Goldberg made a second return for the Legends of Wrestling event in Miami, where he delivered another spear to Steiner after his match with Chavo Guerrero. Return to WWE. Feud with Brock Lesnar and Universal Champion, 2016-2017. On May 31, 2016, Goldberg was announced as the pre-order bonus for the upcoming WWE 2K17 video game. Throughout the summer, Goldberg and WWE 2K17 cover star and former rival Brock Lesnar traded insults with each other through social media and WWE 2K events such as Gamescom. Goldberg would also appear at the WWE 2K SummerSlam event the weekend before the pay-per-view event took place, fueling speculation he would be appearing at the event to confront Lesnar. Goldberg then appeared on the October 3 episode of SportsCenter, where he contemplated a return to WWE. This led to Paul Heyman challenging Goldberg to face Lesnar on the October 10 episode of Raw, with Heyman stating that Goldberg was the one blemish on Lesnar's WWE career, as Goldberg had defeated Lesnar at WrestleMania XX in 2004. The following week on Raw, Goldberg returned to WWE for the first time in 12 years, accepting Heyman's challenge and signaling that Lesnar would be next and last. On the October 24 episode of Raw, Lesnar returned with Heyman, who insulted Goldberg. It was then announced that their match would take place at Survivor Series. On the October 31 episode of Raw, Goldberg returned to address Lesnar's comments from the previous week, only to be interrupted by Heyman, who teased that Lesnar was there, but Rusev came out instead. Goldberg executed a jackhammer on Rusev and a spear on Heyman. On the final Raw before Survivor Series, Goldberg and Lesnar had a face-off, resulting in a brawl with security. At Survivor Series on November 20, Goldberg defeated Lesnar in 1 minute and 26 seconds. The next night on Raw, Goldberg celebrated his victory over Lesnar and declared himself the first participant in the 2017 Royal Rumble match. The following week on Raw, Heyman addressed the Survivor Series match, stating that they had underestimated Goldberg and that the match was a humiliation and embarrassment for him and Lesnar, who would also be in the Royal Rumble match as he has something to prove. Goldberg returned on the January 2, 2017 episode of Raw where he confronted Chris Jericho and WWE Universal Champion Kevin Owens, stating that he would win the Royal Rumble match and challenge for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 33. Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman then came out to confront Goldberg, Owens, and Jericho, and after a stare-down, Goldberg and Reigns performed a double spear on Strowman. Goldberg appeared once more on the January 23 episode of Raw, where he was confronted by Lesnar and The Undertaker. During the Royal Rumble match on January 29, Goldberg entered at number 28 and eliminated Lesnar following a brief confrontation and a spear, as well as eliminating Rusev and Luke Harper before being eliminated by The Undertaker. Lesnar then appeared on the following night's episode of Raw and challenged Goldberg to one final match at WrestleMania 33. Goldberg would go on to accept Lesnar's challenge on the February 6 episode of Raw whilst interrupting Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho in the process. Goldberg would challenge Owens to a Universal Championship match at Fastlane with Jericho accepting on Owens' behalf, and the match was made official later that night. On the February 27 episode of Raw, Goldberg and Owens had one final confrontation, with Goldberg claiming that if he would win the Universal Championship, he would defend it against Lesnar at WrestleMania 33. At Fastlane on March 5, after a distraction from Jericho, who Owens betrayed and attacked on the February 13 episode of Raw, Goldberg defeated Owens to win the Universal Championship. The next night on Raw, Goldberg was confronted by Lesnar, who executed an F5 on Goldberg. On the final Raw before WrestleMania, Goldberg responded with a spear on Lesnar. At WrestleMania 33 on April 2, despite performing 4 spears and a jackhammer, Goldberg lost the title to Lesnar in what was also his first clean singles loss in his entire career. Goldberg appeared the following night on Raw Talk, which aired on the WWE Network after the Raw broadcast, to wish the fans farewell, but ultimately did not rule out a return in the future. WWE Hall of Famer and sporadic appearances, 2018 present. On January 15, 2018, ESPN announced that Goldberg would be inducted as the headliner of the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018. This was then confirmed on Raw when it was announced by WWE. On March 25, WWE announced that Paul Heyman would be inducting Goldberg into the Hall of Fame. On May 1, 2019, it was announced that Goldberg would return to the ring during the next WWE in Saudi Arabia show on June 7, 2019. On May 13, WWE announced that his opponent would be The Undertaker at the now-named WWE Super Showdown event. Goldberg appeared on the June 4 episode of SmackDown Live, where he had a brief confrontation with The Undertaker ahead of their upcoming match. At Super Showdown itself, Goldberg lost to The Undertaker. Goldberg suffered a concussion a few minutes into the match, which severely affected his performance. Legacy. Goldberg's rapid rise to popularity in WCW led the WWF to parody Goldberg during the Attitude Era, with longtime jobber Dwayne Gill being repackaged as Gillberg. Goldberg initially wasn't happy with the parody, but later embraced the Gillberg character and was happy that Gill was able to have a run with the character. The two would eventually confront each other on Raw during Goldberg's run with WWE in 2003, in which he quickly dispatched Gillberg. Trying to replicate WCW's success with Goldberg, WWE began pushing Ryback in 2012 in a similar manner to Goldberg, leading to the portmanteau of Ryberg to be devised by fans and commentators for Ryback. In October 2012, after Ryback used the jackhammer move used by Goldberg during a match against Kofi Kingston, Goldberg would respond by stating, "Now comparisons offend me." Spectators at WWE events had been chanting Goldberg during Ryback's matches from 2012, which Ryback said never bothered. In response to podcast host and mixed martial artist Cole Sonnen's confusion about Ryback's appeal in late 2014, former WWE writer John Piermarini noted that the creative staff were doing essentially the exact same thing they did with the character when it did not work or catch on the first time, and would only continue to get Goldberg's character over as Ryback. Goldberg would return to WWE around the same time Ryback asked for and was granted his release from the company in 2016. Many promotions would parody Goldberg's infamous streak, including WWE on multiple occasions, albeit with a losing streak, such as with the aforementioned Gillberg as well as Curt Hawkins. In 2014, Ring of Honor started a gimmick for R.D. Evans, where he began gloating about his win streak, which he dubbed the New Streak, although all of his wins came over jobbers or by disqualification over serious wrestlers like Michael Elgin and Roderick Strong. His streak eventually ended later that year. Mixed martial arts. In Aug.